Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another fun episode of Next to Madison. I'm your host, Madison Malloy, and on today's episode, we are talking relationship advice. Everybody loves a good relationship podcast, so we are bringing it here on the Next to Madison podcast, the podcast to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. I am sitting down with one of my comedian friends, Victoria Arnstein, who has no filter, will tell you how it is, and that's what makes her so funny and so endearing. And she is spitting the advice that you need to hear. Whether you agree with it or not, you need to hear it. We're talking about playing the game, even if you're dating and you're married, being vulnerable, and why feminism might have gone too far. You're not going to want to miss this. It's a fun episode. You're going to grab some tidbits of information for men and women. And yes, I hope you enjoy. We will be right back after this brief message.
It's your host, Madison Malloy, and I have exciting news. My new product is now available on Amazon called Color Your Way to Abundance, a 21-day manifestation guide for wealth, health, and love. This unique coloring journal will help you manifest by coloring in the affirmations while you continue to repeat them. This will help activate these affirmations so they become a reality. Grab your copy today and relax, color, and start manifesting.
We are back with my funny friend, comedian Victoria Arnstein. How are you, my dear?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I would talk about comedy, but you have launched this awesome new funny podcast that I've been on called Wife's a Bitch. You are a wife. You are also a comic. And a bitch. In a good way. Yeah, there you go. Wife's a bitch. And I've been on the podcast and it was absolutely hysterical. But you have kind of become this sounding board or advice platform for women in relationships.
And thank you.
Yeah, which is great. So everybody loves talking about relationships. Everybody struggles with dating and relationships. So let's focus our first segment on the single girls. Like myself.
Okay. All right. Well, I've found that even though I'm in my 50s, there are so many things that are never changing, from my teens to my 20s to my 30s to my 40s to my 50s. And my mother's in her 70s, and I have to say there's a real theme there that's very similar to all the ages, and that is you gotta continue to play the game. You gotta continue to play that game. It will never go away. It's not going anywhere. Continue the game and people call it a game, but it really is just a natural, primitive way of attracting someone else. And it doesn't ever go away, and it shouldn't ever go away, because if you get complacent, then that's when the trouble starts. That's when trouble starts. When there's an imbalance in any relationship, it doesn't even matter if it's a sexual relationship. If there's an imbalance where one person is more interested in the other person, I guarantee you there's a fail that's going to happen. There's a failure that's going to launch. It's not going to work out.
Okay.
And that was my mistake in my marriage.
What is the game?
What is the game is never be needy, and always be a mystery in any relationship. I even say that even with my own children. Like a mother-daughter relationship is a very similar way. Too much mother or too much daughter is too much of anything. And I find that my whole entire life, I find an existence of a really healthy lifestyle is a balance. And I know that sounds very, spiritual, shishi, whatever you want to call it. But it really is something I try to maintain. And a lot of people go to extremes to maintain it. Like my husband climbed Mount Everest to maintain his balance. Sometimes you have to go to crazy extremes to get there, but you have to get there. So I'm not saying to do it all in one day, but I wrote a book it's called Impress Yourself. And basically I write about the pillars of health, the 8 pillars of health. And you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself in order. And that's your message too. I watch what you say also. Yeah. Taking care. If you're not going to take care of yourself, my book is not for you. Yeah. Neither is a relationship. Okay, so a relationship's not for you.
Yeah. So you're saying play the game. The game is remaining a mystery and not being needy. So
Correct.
let's do it one segment at a time. So for women who are single and trying to find their spouse,
Mhm.
how should they approach dating?
I'd say be very neutral, open-minded, and not don't chase. A woman should not chase a man, first of all, primitively speaking, and we really should go to primitive times because that's how we started, and it's still in our DNA. Men chase. It's just a fact, and even in a gay relationship, there's a male figure and a feminine figure, and the male chases, and that's just the way it is. You could try to rewrite it, but it's not going to work out.
Right. Okay, so there's a difference though. What if the man thinks you're not interested because you're playing so non
Okay, so now there's that extreme too. So this is where you have to maintain the balance, and it's a tightrope. You have to continue to really check yourself. Um, you have to give a little and be vulnerable, and then take some back. Don't give it all. Don't tell them all of your problems on the first date. Let them fall in love with you first. That's a big mistake people make. I'm not saying don't put your cards on the table. My husband knew right away I wanted to get married. I was in my late 20s. He was in his early 20s. And he wasn't interested or looking for marriage. He just found me and liked me. And I naturally didn't really care because he was younger. So I didn't really show him any care. But I showed him that I was interested in hanging out with him. But that was the part that he wanted more of. And so I wasn't doing it on purpose, this game, but it really worked out that way naturally. And that's how I know for sure it works. It's not just how I know for sure. In my marriage, I became the needy one afterwards, where he loved me like crazy before the marriage, before the wedding. After the wedding, I was looking at him like a god. And that's where my marriage fell apart. And we almost got divorced twice. And, I got him back. And the way I got him back was also I got turned off and I started dating other men. And we were separated. And by default, I did not want to be. But you know what? That's where I really found my true self. And honestly, that's when I realized, you know what? I was doing it again. I didn't care anymore. And that's when he was interested. Just happened to be. He knew the good parts of me.
So
He didn't want to let that go.
it's the law of detachment. I mean, anything. You can't
Yeah.
manifest
Yeah.
anything in your life if you're attached to an outcome.
Yes.
You can't
Yes. 100%. I agree with
because
that.
yeah, we're born alone, we die alone. And I think that our society is conditioned to like, oh, I'm running out of time. I need to find this. I need to do this. And naturally you have this energy of desperation that repels.
Oh, men could smell desperation, but I will say that, and they could also smell pheromones. If one guy's interested in you, for some reason across the world, he'll know it. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. But the thing that I want to say is there is a timeline for women. That's an unfortunate thing, but it's true. Is a biological clock. You can't ignore it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're the biggest successful CEO in the world. You have a timeline of biologically having children, and that's a fact. And you can try to get around it and, call it whatever you want. But it is a biological clock and it is ticking. And that is something that women don't realize because they're all into feminism, which I think is a big scam. People have been fooled. You know what? It's okay. You can have my vote. If it means that I will be the CEO of my household, I am fine with that. Because the truth of the matter is, too many women think that they have to be this CEO of a company to be successful in life and whatever. They're exhausted. I'm never tired. My husband is the one who works, and I'm happy with that setup. I raised the kids. That was a struggle on its own, and that's a major job. But people don't realize that the roles that you play are so significant in the way you feel about your life. You don't have to struggle by having to achieve and be powerful and this and that with your money and all that stuff. It's great, but then women wake up at 40 and they're like, holy shit, I need to have children. Well, you were focusing on your career. Your career should be finding a man. That's what your career should be. Oh, yeah, it's a career. Are you kidding? Madison, I didn't even go to bridal showers because there were no men there. Do you understand that? Like, I was strategic when I was single.
Okay.
I'm like, no men, that's a problem. I went to Home Depot. Do you understand? I hate Home Depot. I'm allergic to Home Depot. I get a rash in Home Depot. But I went there just in case there was a guy out there that wasn't going to my manicurist. You know what I mean? Don't hang out at the manicure salon when you want to find a man. That's what I'm saying. You got to be in it to win it, baby cakes. You
I
got to
hear
be
ya.
in it to win it.
All right, so let's talk about the feminist movement, because that all started, what was it, 60s, 70s, and then a lot of people are saying, and I agree with this, it went too far.
Too far.
There were
Like
things
anything.
that were good about it, very good,
Right.
that women don't have to play these little MRS roles if they don't want to. That's a choice.
Right.
That's fantastic. You can do both. But the problem is it went too far. And you're right.
It
You're
went too
having
far.
women wake up and say, shit, I should have put a little more balance into my life. So if you're in your 20s and you don't want to have kids, that's fine, but be aware that that could change. So I think your
That's
20s
right.
is irrelevant. You should date as many people. You should work your ass off. You should take risks. That is your time to do it. When you get to your 30s, figure out what you want. Because my mistake was I was listening to everybody else. Don't be distracted. Don't be this. Go after it. Be successful. You don't have to answer to anyone. F this, blah, blah, blah. And it became too extreme. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. Like now, I mean, I'm happy and I feel that I'm on God's plan. And I feel that if it was supposed to happen, God would have provided. But now I'm a little more clear on it to where I'm like, yes, the feminist movement did go too far. And you, not to get political, but you see why they did it back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we can raise your kids, not the woman. Now we've got
Right.
more dollars to tax. That was fine from a dark standpoint. But
Everything's a business.
an opportunity.
Everything, follow the money. Follow the money.
Of course.
Yeah.
Everything is a business.
I'm not saying it's not okay to have your own money and everything else. I have to say that if my husband and I, if my husband and I had money when we were getting divorced, we would be divorced because you don't need to work at it. It's too expensive to get divorced. So we had no money, so we couldn't get divorced. It worked out in our favor. In other words, I married him when he was broke. I married for love, but now he has money. So I waited. The long game is long. It's a long game. If you don't marry up, let me tell you something. It's still a business. Marriage is a business, and you could laugh all day long about that, but marriage still is a business. And yes, you have to be attracted, and you have to have chemistry, but marriage is still going to be a business, and it's a partnership, and you guys have to do all your parts. There's a lot of moving parts in a marriage, and especially with kids. Kids changes the whole, landscape of that relationship. So people don't realize what that could do. So you have to have a strong relationship beforehand. So you got to get cracking. I say go through a year, get 4 seasons. You get to see what you're going through with that person. And, you can see them reacting to traumatic things or anything that goes bad in a situation. You want to see how they react because, and also another thing is dogs and children. If they gravitate towards the guy, you probably have a good one on your hands because they're very instinctual. They don't have any skin in the game. It's a really good indicator. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. All right, so what do you think is a good time frame if women are dating? How long should you be dating before that man commits to you marriage-wise? Because we don't want to waste our time. Because women,
I never went exclusive. Not even my husband had to beg me at the time when he was my boyfriend. I never went exclusive with anyone. And when he wanted me back after we broke up after marriage, I told him he had to date me. I mean, literally win me back because there's no way I'm coming back again. Like, no way. And I was okay with either decision. And, a good negotiator, and this has always been the case, a good negotiator is ready to walk away. Always. Yeah. And you have to be okay with both decisions. Like, okay if I don't, okay if I do. And women, you don't realize how much we have. We are so good at manipulating. And I'm sorry if people don't understand that. But we are good at it. You tell a man he can't do something, watch him do it. You tell a man he can do something, watch him do it. Either way, you're winning. Like a woman has all the tools and women know what to do, but they just don't use it. They're so stupid. We have them. We've got them, baby. We've got everything there is to have, especially this. And women aren't using it enough. They're just so insecure. And I get insecure even in my own marriage because whenever he's not giving me that attention, there's that little deficit that's happening and I start getting a little bit more needy. That's when I have to draw back and find other things to do.
Okay. So let's focus on the one thing then. So Okay, so why don't we just take this to me, because I can't speak for other people. What's your advice for me? I'm a woman who has men interested, but I'm like, I'm afraid of wasting my time. I want to find the man. I'm not going to hang out with a man for a year and then be like, oh, it's not working. That just means I'm a year older.
Oh, no. You have to date the entire time other people. You're nobody's bitch. You're
Until
nobody's.
somebody was like, no, we're committing. I'm going to do this.
Think of yourself as the Bachelorette if you have to. You cannot look
Oh,
at
I
yourself
do, yeah.
as someone's.
I'm
You
the
can't.
prize. Come
Yeah,
on in.
right. I mean, you're exceptionally pretty and you're smart. So like that's intimidation on its own for a man. But if you got them in your lair already, if you have them in there, then this is where you have to work it. You have to be vulnerable because you're pretty. You have to be vulnerable. You have to give in to that because a man is not going to be trying that hard. Let me tell you something about a man. If he has to try too hard, he stops, he gives up. So don't, there's a fine line that women cross and they just can't keep on that tightrope. You have to stay on that tightrope. Give and then take it back. Give and then take more back. This is always going to be the case. Everything in life is push and pull, yin and yang. Every single thing in life is a resistance and then it goes easy. You get uncomfortable, then you feel good when you are comfortable. You have to get out of your comfort zone to get to the place you want to be in life. And that is, you have to be mysterious and you have to make it a little hard and challenging for him, but then you give in. And then he's like, oh, wait. So he gets that Pavlov dog thing going on because he's like, wait a minute, she does give me, but then she takes it away. But I want more of that. That's a drug. Okay. Do you see the drug? Do you see how it's a drug? Okay. And women are the same way. Women are the same way. We got attention and then he didn't call for a day or two. I want that drug, or you see an abused woman even. I'll even go further with that scale. Or an abused woman is like, but he loves me, and then he apologizes after he hits me. Like, there's a drug there. The good part is the drug.
True.
So keep giving the good, and then take it back. Take it back. You own it. You own it. You own it. You own that. You have the drug in your hand. So why not keep that drug, stringing him along? And this is not mean, guys. I'm not bashing men. I absolutely love men. I like men more than women. But you have the tools, and you know what? They're doing it too. So it's not like you're the only one doing it. You just have to learn how to do it and how to master it. Because if you don't, you're not going to make it. There are failed marriages, and I'm talking about like 50 years in, and kids and all that stuff. And people get divorced all the time. So why is the percentage so high? Because no one's working at it.
All right. So
you want to keep that relationship going? Sometimes you got to pull away.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the key word that you were talking about there, which is vulnerability. So many people are not vulnerable because there's an underlying fear of rejection. I can speak for myself. When there's times where I'm afraid to be vulnerable in a dating situation, it's because the real fear is, are they going to reject me? Am I asking for too much? Am I this?
But you know what the bigger fear is? The bigger fear trumps all of that. The bigger fear is you're not going to end up with anyone. That's the bigger fear. That's the fear I would.
Because you're not vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Okay, so
who cares? The rejection part should be, women have a hard time with rejection. Men are very used to rejection, but women should start getting over themselves and start really understanding that rejection's a gift.
It is.
Because you learn so much. You learn so much from rejection. First of all, you learn that was the wrong one. Thank you, God.
Yes, exactly. Rejection's got protection. So I want to focus on vulnerability.
And you get more used to it. The more you get rejected, the more used to it. And then you appreciate it when it doesn't get rejected, when you don't get rejected.
Exactly. So vulnerability, focus. This is what I want. How does a woman become more vulnerable, and even a man, in a relationship? What does that mean? Paint the picture. Because people say, what does it mean to be vulnerable?
Let him be a man. Let him do what he does best. Let him take you out for dinner. Let him decide where the restaurant's going to be. Stop telling that to drive. Stop being a nag.
That's being feminine energy, but what vulnerable is like really showing who you are.
Oh, that's yeah, that part also. Yeah, well, I have to say, I will not tell my husband anything that I'm vulnerable about in my comedy world, because then he'll just bash me and try to find a solution. I'm not interested. He can't just listen to me vent. So I'm not going to be vulnerable with comedy with him anymore. I learned my lesson. He's just not that type. He's an alpha male. He's all business. He's like, he doesn't understand comedy world. He thinks it's ridiculous. That's where I'm at with that. So I don't tell him about that vulnerability. You could be vulnerable in bed, vulnerable when you just want to show him that you're giving him affection. That's vulnerability. You're giving him affection. That's showing that you let your guard down. So you don't have to talk about everything with him. Find a girlfriend that will listen. He will not listen to your bullshit. I will tell you, if you're married to an alpha male, that is a fact. They're fun to date, hard to live with. But I like an alpha male. That's my type. And there's some bad stuff that goes with it, just like a beta. Bad stuff with a beta too. Oh, yeah, honey, whatever you want, honey. That's boring as shit. I don't want that either. But yeah, it's nice. And believe me, sometimes I do want it. Sometimes I want my husband to be a beta. But it's very rare for a woman to be attracted to somebody that completely gives into her all the time. If she's the boss. And that's an imbalance to me.
So why do you think that, and this is for both men and women, because I have a lot of guy friends and they have a hard ass time trying to find the one. Why do you think that people are having so much trouble dating? Is it because
I made some meme up. Yeah, no, I made a meme up. What did I write? I said men are just so easily like having the same cup of coffee for the last 40 years, and they look forward to it every morning, but they can't commit to a woman. A woman gives them so much more than their cup of coffee. It's the same cup of coffee. Am I wrong? They have it the same way, the exact same preparation. Every single morning's the same for them, but they can't commit to a woman? Really?
Do you think
Really?
It's because there's just so many options and like
there's definitely a lot of options now. It is a lot of television channels now that you can't decide. And I'll tell you something about a man that people don't know, because I was in sales and I was a very good salesperson, for a very seasoned salesperson. It's very different from very good sales. I was a seasoned salesperson. I can tell you this with clarity. A man can't decide of things, more than two things on the table. I used to sell jewelry. If you put more than two things, they would rather not decide at all. So stop giving them so many options. Now, the problem is that a woman is so insecure because they know there's so many options. And he sees that insecurity in her. So what you have to do is really completely delusionally get yourself confident enough. And actually, not delusionally, do stuff that makes you really accomplished. Like, run a 5K, or, do something exceptional that really keeps building your self-confidence. Take care of yourself. Go get that massage, get a manicure, get a haircut, whatever it is. Buy something new so you can get excited to wear that stuff, or buy something new so you could actually go running in that new running outfit. So I say motivate yourself all the time, and that is definitely going to give you a different glow and an aura about you. And so a man is attracted to that too. And what I'm saying is that you can't be so worried about the static and the other people, because they don't exist in your world. You're the star of your own movie, and you're lucky if you give someone a goddamn speaking role. That's it. You're the star in your own movie.
That's great advice. I do. That is amazing. Yeah, you're lucky if you give somebody a speaking role.
But the vulnerability should be there, as far as show them that you want to give them a hug and give them a kiss and all that stuff. Don't be worried about that stuff. That vulnerability is very important. It doesn't have to be yapping away at him. I'm vulnerable, and they don't care. Just show them that men are people of action. They like action. They're very visual too. So paint a picture for him when you're not with him, on the phone, text him, send him a picture. Men are very visual. So if you could paint that picture for them. When I made sales, I would have them visualize what they would get if they bought a woman a beautiful piece of jewelry. So now all of a sudden I'm solving a problem. I didn't go that far. I wasn't that pessimistic, but I did say the end result, which is every sale in the world is a solution that you're solving a problem to. Every single sale and everything you've ever consumed or bought in your life, you solved a problem that you had. It's a small problem. But whatever it is, you bought a shampoo to get your hair nice, to get the man. You know what I mean? It all leads to the same ending. And everything is sex sells. And it's true. But I was a virgin when I got married, and I was at 30 years old, right before my 30th birthday. My husband didn't care. He didn't care. I didn't do it for religious reasons. I did it because I was from a small community, and then it just built up that way. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a nun, but I'm also not going to give in. It's already in my 20s. What, one day I'm just going to roll over and not see my husband the next day? I'd be traumatized. I thought. Now I don't think that way. I don't think that you need to be a virgin before you get married, although my husband wants me to teach that to my daughters. I don't think that. I don't think that's best. But I do think that not having it on the first date and not having it for the first 3 months is, the sexual tension that builds up is so much better. It's so much better for your relationship. Women, you could give, it's so easy to give in. Just be the stronger one. You have to be the stronger one. No man's going to say no. But, you have to be the strong one to say, you know what? I really want to wait. I really want, not saying you need to be, a prude or a nun. I'm saying that you should just do certain things and then just say, I'm not ready. And that will make and drive a man crazy for you. It's true.
Women, like when we have sex, we get, because the hormones and the oxytocin,
attached.
We get confused, we get attached, and all of a sudden, like if you are sleeping with somebody and you don't know where you stand with them, you're gonna subconsciously get more needy, more desperate, and it's not gonna pan out well. I think you should definitely know where you stand with somebody before you do that. And if that guy's not okay with that, then he wasn't for you. But now you're not.
I just came across, right, and I just came across a clip from Sex and the City where the role of Carrie, which is played by Sarah Jessica Parker, she was like, I just want to be like a man and just have sex all the time, just like a man, blah, blah, blah. And then when the man was like, wow, thank you so much. I'm so glad that this is the new you, because I'm going to go out with another girl right after you. And she was like, I suddenly felt like I wasn't empowered anymore. Like she felt like used. You know what I mean? Like he was doing it to her and she was doing it to him, but she felt like she wasn't that much in power at the end. So at the end of the day, sex is a very vulnerable thing for a woman. So that's where you give into your vulnerability, but don't give it up so quickly. You don't have to. You don't have to. There's no rule book for that. And a woman should know what she has. And if a man does leave you because he's not having it yet, he's not fighting for you because he loves you. He just wants that. And that's where that's a gift that you were given. That I was given many gifts. Many guys didn't give me a third date because I didn't want to have sex. But they weren't for me. That was the gift. Yeah, I had to wait a little longer to find him, but my husband didn't care, and he was 22 and he didn't care. So if he didn't care, you're going to find someone that doesn't care either. You know what I mean? And I remember I was going out with a guy that smoked pot. My father's like, don't go out with guys who do drugs. I'm like, Mom, Dad, everyone smokes pot. He goes, I didn't smoke pot. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not dating you. He goes, but there's someone out there that is like me. And I'm like, oh shit. He was right. Why settle? Okay, now I'm saying that you're in your 30s, whatever.
I'm
now
not
you're
settling. The problem is maybe I should have. No, I'm just kidding.
No, what the whole thing is that, you didn't find your man yet because he wasn't ready for you. And that's all there is to it.
And I wasn't ready for him. Now
also, the timing wasn't there, and you will find it because you're prepared. You know what to give, what to take, and you have to be prepared. This is like I said, it's a career. It is a career finding a man. Listen, this is the person you're going to be sleeping next to. Sleeping is the most, is there anything more vulnerable than sleeping? I mean, you're going to be sleeping next to this person for the rest of your days. You don't think that you need to take this seriously enough? Really? People just go into marriage like it's nothing? Are you kidding? Like this is something that, no, this is the most vulnerable time of your life. Marriage is so damn serious that if you don't treat this like a career, you don't deserve it. That's really the truth.
But what about the old saying of like, faith? Like I'm very religious. Like God,
find a guy that also has that.
Right.
No, that's another thing I'll say. People are like, oh yeah, mix religions, mix this. Marriage is hard enough. You want to mix? You want someone that has something different than you too, and then you're going to have kids, and then you want to come together with that? Good luck. My husband's an Ashkenazi European Jew. I'm a Middle Eastern Jew. That's already a mixed marriage. We're both Jewish, but that's already a mix.
Are you
You
a
want to
Sephardic?
continue? I am.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
a
Yeah,
Middle
yeah,
Eastern
yeah.
Jew. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Lebanese, Tunisian, Syrian. I know
Okay.
I don't look it. But
No,
yeah.
that's interesting. But no, it
I
is
keep looking down, but my camera's up here, so I don't know if you guys
I know
see
it's
me
fine.
looking down.
What's your but let's talk about your podcast because you talk about a
Yeah.
lot of other relationship advice. What do you feel? Because your podcast is newish,
Yes,
like
very nice.
has been some of the most eye-opening conversations you've had talking to people. I love it. Life's a bitch, baby.
Yeah, wife's a
I
bitch.
love to be.
If you're doing it right, if you're doing it right. Listen, life's a bitch too, but we love life, right? So you can't live without us, and you can't shoot us, and you can't live with us, and you can't shoot us. I mean, you can't. You got it. You're gonna eventually, if that's what you're looking for. If a man is listening and they're looking for a wife, just know that there's going to be a struggle and there's going to be a reward. It's with everything in life. You could go at it alone and you could be a playboy for the rest of your life. But is that really going to amount to anything? Are you really going to have anything to show for it? You're probably not. It's going to be an empty life. Even Hugh Hefner got married. If Hugh Hefner, the head of Playboy, could get married, any man could get married.
Sure.
Okay? I'm just saying. Now, if marriage is not for you, if you're really a man out there that you're listening and you're not interested in marriage, good luck to you. You don't have to get married. At least you know where you stand in life, and that's great. I respect that. But if you are a man that is actually struggling and they really want to find the right person, I say it's a numbers game. Go out with as many women as you can until you find the one that clicks the most, the one that has the less irritating values. I mean, things about them.
Yeah.
But you really do have to stick in the same vicinity of religion, politics. That all should be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that like, I have like guy friends who, have been dating, like I always tell them, I'm like, are you dating the world? But I always think they're actually really good people to go after because they know what's out there. So when they find it, they're going to be ready to settle down because they're not wondering what's out there. They're like, they know. So maybe it's not such a bad thing to date the guy who has dated so many women because he's going to be like, I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah, I was done. I was in my late 20s and I was dating since I was 15 and I was done, I
Yeah.
was done.
Yeah.
And my husband was still broke, but I saw so much potential in him. His work ethic was insane. He didn't want to ever stop. He was like always going to be, he said, I'm going to be wealthy or just kill me. Like that's just the way it's going to be. And I saw that and I saw that spark and I was like, I was willing to work with that. And I was also willing to work with less in my life so I didn't have to work and I could watch the kids. So I didn't have to have extravagant meals and dinners every night. I didn't have to go to restaurants and date night every single night, which by the way, when people are like, you need to have date night with your husband, I'm like, you're sleeping next to him every night. You're a sure thing. You don't need a date night. I don't know it's the date night thing. What do you mean? You need him to talk to you at a restaurant? Yeah, okay, once in a while. By the way, we always feel bloated after a restaurant. We never feel good. Like we're always like, oh, that was horrible. And there were so many people around, I couldn't even really talk to you, Like that date night is bullshit. Spend time together. But this whole date night thing that women are like, hey, we have to date night. Shut up. Just stop. Stop with the date night.
I love that you're so being honest, though. It's hysterical.
Yeah, it's so funny, though.
You have found such a niche for like helping single women and single men cut through bullshit.
Yeah. Well, my whole stand-up comedy is about that.
Exactly.
I know it sounds like I'm making it into a joke. I am making it into a joke, but I'm really giving a really solid message to women, like marry up and do the things that I didn't get to do. And, like, unless you want to play the long game like I did, which was 20 years of being broke. If that's what you're into, do it. But you better be prepared to have major struggles because when an alpha male is broke, he's not a happy man. I could tell you right now, it doesn't matter what you're doing for him, how many times you kiss him a day, he is not going to be a happy man. And that's what my marriage was like for 20 years.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, and then he went through something really harsh too. He went to jail for 9 months. My husband went to jail for 9 months on a technicality of trying to take Yelp reviews and websites, fake websites off of his company. And you're not allowed to do that. Now you are, but at the time you weren't. and he had to get his judge's name on it, and he took it off himself instead of using a lawyer. And the name on there was a judge's name. That was considered forgery. He went to jail for 9 months, and then he ended up going to on house arrest for 5 months, and a huge fine.
And you got through.
And I had to go through. Well, we got through it, but then he wanted a divorce right afterwards. Because he found me. He was so zen in jail. Like, jail was like a joke. Actually, there was no walls. It was a low security jail. It was like a camp. It was club fed. It was Camp Cupcake. And he was basically just like very zen. You know, he had no responsibilities there. His manager was running the business. But whenever he called me and I had to like tell him about the kids and whatever, he found that to be nagging in his brain. He's like, oh, I'm very zen in this jail and I don't need to hear this nagging. I don't want to be married anymore.
Did you have conjugal visits?
You don't have conjugal visits when you're there for less than 2 years. So no. But he was only there for 9 months. But the truth of the matter is I was in Hawaii. We were living in Hawaii at the time. I was there. And then I brought everybody back and I sold all the furniture out there and I came back to New York. And it was another whole lifestyle. So we've been through like the gambit. Like we've been through it all, you know. So I know how to get through. Yeah. And now I know how to get. Yeah, and we're both ultra marathoners. So that's an endurance sport where it's beyond a marathon. An ultra marathon is a marathon with mental illness. But anyway, you just basically going the distance, and that's one thing that I know for sure that we both have. He knows that he's in this for the long game, and I know it now, and there's just no turning back anymore. We're stuck with each other, whether we like it or not. We're totally in it together. I now own most of his company because, you know, he went to prison. So, you know, it's better in my name. So now he's not going anywhere. Like, the whole thing turned around.
He's stuck with me. That's why wife's a bitch, baby.
Wife's a bitch, baby. But you know what? At the end of the day, there's got to be reward. And the reward is, are you better off alone or are you better off with the person? Ask yourself that. That's why I say it should be a career to look for the person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life. Don't overanalyze.
Yeah.
Don't overanalyze because no one comes perfect. You'll never find it. And that's another message I have out there. Sure. Don't look for everything in that one guy or that one woman. Never look for everything because the truth is, first of all, you take everybody in doses. I can't have my husband all day, every day. I would kill myself. I would die. I would not be able to take it. And also, he's not talking comedy and he's not talking, you know, beauty tips. And he's not talking about anything that I got to find people for those things. So you're running a company, right? You don't have everyone doing one job. He's not doing every job that I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone to talk to about this, about sex, all right? Or I'm looking for someone to talk to about comedy. Right. And I found my people. So that's the business that I'm running, and I'm the CEO of that business. And because I'm the CEO of that business, I got to know how to delegate and how much time I'm going to spend on each thing. So that's another thing that people don't realize. Everything is really a business in a way where you have to make time for, you have to have time management. You have to have skills. If you're a mother, you have to have time for yourself. And let me tell you something, if you're not spending time on yourself and you're just a mom that's going to be haggard and dreary, no guy's coming home to that saying, hey, I can't wait to come home to my wife. No, a woman that's married better get her act together. Because let me tell you something.
I agree.
They get complacent and the man is looking somewhere else. My husband never looked anywhere else, but that's not the point. He wasn't interested in me. So it didn't matter if he was cheating. He was still not interested in me because I was wearing sweatshirts, not caring. We moved to Hawaii. I was in a bathing suit all day in the kitchen. I was cleaning in a bikini. He was like, holy shit, you have a body? Holy shit, who's this girl? So like in the winter months, when you're in New York City and you're like, oh, I just want to wear my sweatshirt and sweatpants. Okay, once in a while, do that. But when he comes home, look freaking good. Put on some, you know, a little bit of makeup. He doesn't love makeup, but just look presentable. Don't look like a haggard bitch because you're going to nag and you are the way you feel. Like if you feel like shit, you're going to look like shit. You're going to act like shit. But if you look good, you're going to feel good. And you're going to want to go out. And he's going to say, where are you going? I'm going out. I'm going out. Where are you going? I don't know. Don't wait up.
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I do now. It used to be the other way around. Where are you going, honey? It's like, I'm going out. Well, now it's me that goes out. And he likes it. He gets to work on his computer, whatever, without the nag and without somebody on top of him, like waiting for him all day, like I used to. And now I'm just doing my thing. And that's why comedy has saved my marriage. It saved my life. Also because I love it so much and I love making people laugh. I love that connection. He doesn't get it. He's like, oh, you just want attention. I'm like, no, if I wanted attention, I'll just walk outside, act crazy and take my shirt off. I can get attention. I got no problem getting attention.
Yeah,
I love the connection
that
I make.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Well, we're going to wrap up. This has been, I always love having you on. You are like my girl when I'm like, what do I do about this? Because you give such honest, real, raw advice. So you guys have to go check out her stand up, but
Thank you.
most importantly, also listen to her podcast. And
Thank you.
Bitch, tell us where they can find
my
you,
book
that stuff, and her book.
And I'm also
Impress
Yourself. And I'm actually writing a book about relationships called Wife's a Bitch. So that's
Perfect. Okay,
that's my next book.
Where can they find you? Drop all your stuff.
My Instagram is Victoria Makes You Laugh with a YOU, and it's probably going to be banned again, like everything else is banned on Instagram because I'm so truthful. Or my jokes are dark. People just don't resonate with that. If I say feminism is a scam, they're like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "All right, relax. Just why don't you hear me out first?
Take it down a notch." Yeah.
Why don't you hear me out first? That's the problem with people. They don't hear you out first. They just like automatically have the alarm bells going on because their ADD is so messed up from watching TikTok and short reels that they can't like wait 2 seconds to hear your reasons. You know, that's another thing. By the way, be a good listener. I think that's a really good thing for a man. A man wants to hear himself talk a little bit when he's ready to talk. Just listen and be there. And that's the vulnerability that a woman doesn't show either because, I'm a CEO too. And stop proving yourself. No one cares. He's with you on a date for a reason. Just let him talk. Let him be him. Let him shine. It's okay. It's okay to have the man shine. You don't have to shine all the time, ladies, you know? All right. So, and also,
where's the podcast? They can find it. YouTube,
podcast is on YouTube. You know, it's just YouTube and Spotify for now. But Wife's a Bitch podcast. Thank you so much for having me on.
Check her out, you guys. It's amazing. Victoria, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's listening, wherever you may be. We will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.